Well, good morning. I want to welcome you all to this month's Hour of Power. This morning, we're looking at creating agreements. And so I'm going to check in here with Lisa and make sure that I'm being heard. So, Lisa, if you'd unmute, is everything coming through good?
Dave, Lisa's in a meeting. This is Donna, and yes, I hear you fine.
Super. Thank you. So, I want to say, first of all, thank you to the Portsmouth, Ohio Chamber of Commerce, the Maysville, Kentucky, the Grayson, Kentucky, the Adams County, and Chambers of Commerce, and the Ashland Alliance. They are sponsoring these. They advertise these. They put out the information to their memberships and invite them to be a part. So we appreciate their partnership. And I am super excited and glad to have you here today. Again, the topic is how to create great agreements. Now, when you look at the opening picture there, I've got a picture of a bunch of people together as a team with their hand getting ready to celebrate something. And then on the other side, I've got a little picture of a board with all kinds of little sticky notes full of expectations. And that's just a visual to kind of get you thinking about this distinction between expectations and agreements. That's where we're going to spend a fair amount of time this morning. I'm proposing to you that if you get that distinction, this will be transformational in your leadership, in your team building, and even in your parenting and your marriage. So get ready. We're ready to go. And let's take a look here at the first slide here. I have been married for 38 years. Joyful marriage, a lovely wife and bride. So happy. I have three sons, grown sons, Michael, Aaron, and Nathan. I have a slew of grandchildren. I'm the granddaddy of all granddaddies. I've been doing this kind of work, business leadership coaching, for about 20 years. I'm also a certified biblical counselor with the Association of Certified Biblical Counselors. Help a lot of people with personal issues. And I'm also, the thing that kind of draws this all together is I just have a passion to help people. So that's what I want to do for you today. I want to help you. So to do that, we always start off here with the rules of the game. And I want to go a little bit slower with this morning because it's critical. My experience with this distinction especially is that it's critical that you take these rules to heart. The first one is you have to own things. I'm going to talk a lot in the arena of being a business manager, a leader, or working with other people at work. When we're not getting the results, or we're getting results, but we don't have that sense of team, we don't have that sense of camaraderie, we don't have that energy, or we have some folks that are not participating in the team. Some folks are doing well, others are not. As the leader, you need to own that. I didn't say you were fully responsible for other people, but when I'm leading a team and the team as a team is not getting the result, I need to own that. I could blame the team. I could make excuses. So I could blame the organization and all the dysfunction and the problems, or I can own that and say, I'm going to look in the mirror and see how I can maybe approach this differently. I'm going to give you a different approach today to helping people participate. Participation, 100%, all in. If you're going to get the most out of this today, you need to be all in with it. If you're multitasking right now and doing other things, I don't mind you. It doesn't hurt me that you're on here and just listening, perhaps like a radio show or like a webinar. But if you really want to get the full benefit of this, you need to participate 100%. This rule probably today is so important because I'm going to make statements like, you expecting your employees to do their job is a problem. Well, immediately, most people, when they hear that statement, their I know goes through the roof. Well, I know that's ridiculous. Of course, I should be able to expect people to do their job, Dave. What's your problem? Well, I want you to just be curious about why I would make a statement like that. And what's he getting at? And what's his point? Instead of, I'm turning that off. That's just a lot of craziness. We have the way we've thought for years. We have what we know. That's what helps us function in life, what we've learned. That also gets in the way of what we can learn. That gets in the way of what we can know. A know-it-all knows everything, so they don't listen to anybody. Don't be a know-it-all about this. Just be curious for an hour. You don't have to agree with everything. You don't have to agree with everything at the end of the webinar today. But I am asking you to get the most out of this, that you set your I know aside and just be curious and just find this interesting. And finally, we're going to laugh about this because it's people oriented and people are fun and people are unusual. And so am I, and so are you. And we're all imperfect beings just trying to do better. And so let's have some fun. So if you'll embrace those rules, I'm ready to go. And we're going to start with this distinction: expectations versus agreements. How did you learn about those things originally in your life? Probably most of you, it was in a home situation with a parent or maybe a grandparent. We learned as children how to please our parents if we wanted to get what we want, or if we didn't want to get into trouble. We learned how to meet their expectations. That's not a bad thing. That's not a wrong thing. It's just a programming. It's a way of thinking. Most people, in my experience, have grown up and they become managers, they become bosses, they become supervisors, and that's how they manage their people. They have expectations of them. They expect them to do their work. They expect them to come to work on time. And the employee, as an employee, you have expectations. I expect to get a check. I expect to be treated fairly. Dave, are you saying that's wrong? It's not wrong. That's life. That's how it works. But I'm saying to you, if you want to build an amazing team, if you want to have amazing relationships, I'm talking about amazing, upper level, high quality gold medal stuff going on. Super performance is what I'm about as a coach, helping people perform better and at a top level. If you want that kind of team, you want that kind of performance, I'm encouraging you to move from expectations to agreements, especially in those relationships. Let's talk about why. I just want you to marinate in this. I just want you to sit into this. I want you to really just take a few breaths and just listen and think. These things are just about thinking. So I want to help you do that. And here's my question. Why is this distinction so important? Why is it significant if we're trying to build a strong team and strong relationships? And I'm going to give you some reasons. Let's talk about what agreement is. Agreement, if you look it up in the dictionary, is just harmony. I'm in agreement with you. I'm in harmony with you. I'm at peace with you. When I agree with someone, we're getting along, and not just getting along, but we are getting along in a positive sense. Agreement is based on trusting somebody else and their integrity and my integrity. I do what I say I'm going to do. They do what they say they're going to do. That's where agreement comes from. In contrast, expectation is more of a hope. I hire somebody and I hope they do their job. I hope they show up on time. They said they would. I don't know if I trust them fully. I'm uncertain. And if they don't do their job or they don't do what I expect, then I become the enforcer. I have to go out and have conversations, and I have to put on the pressure, and I have to maybe even use a threat or two if it really gets serious. And that's the expectation model. That I, as the superior, expect the inferior to do their job. Parent, child. It's an authoritative approach to management and leadership versus a collaborative style that's peer to peer. And I think, well, let's just move on. Let's look at another one. Agreements are objective. An agreement can be written. An agreement between me and you is created collaboratively. What do I mean by that? We both participate in negotiating that agreement and coming to an agreement. You're saying, Dave, we hire people. They just have to have expectations. They need to meet expectations. Please set aside your I know for now and just get the distinction. Then we'll come back to the real world and we'll talk about that. Agreements are objective versus expectations, which are subjective. I have expectations. You have expectations. They dwell between my ears. Some of those expectations are assumed. I assume certain things that are just reasonable about other people. Or if I'm an old style manager, I just dictate my expectations, and that's the way I boss. I basically lay out and explain thoroughly what you need to do, and then I just expect you to do it because I'm the boss and you're the employee. Again, it's parent-child. And it's very subjective. Typically the expectation dwells within me. Now, in more sophisticated organizations, they will print out their expectations. They're called job duties or job descriptions. And they say, well, Dave, if I share my expectations with my employee, isn't that the same as an agreement? It is not. We'll talk about why in a minute. What I want you to see for now is that agreements are objective, always. There's something between the two of us that's on the table. We both participate. They're collaboratively created. Expectations are often dictated, assumed, and very subjective. Agreements. What's the result of an agreement? When I can have successful agreement with people, it builds trust. It creates teamwork. The agreement is something we share together versus expectations, which often cause anxiety. And often the result of an expectation is disappointment. When people don't live up to my expectation, I can become disappointed. If I'm under somebody's expectation, I'm anxious. I'm wondering if I'm meeting their expectation. It lends to people pleasing. I have a great job if I make the boss happy is an expectation model. I have a great job when we both sit down and agree and create an agreement and we can trust each other to keep that agreement. That is agreement model. Expectation model is around anxiety and hope and not sure what's going to happen. The goal of an agreement is to achieve the team outcome. We have a project, we have a job to do, we have people to serve, we have activities that need to be completed, and we have those outcomes defined. And when we all sit down and agree who does what by when, and we have that true agreement that we're as a team, we all have a role to play. The goal of that agreement is to achieve the outcome that we have all shared in our communication versus an expectation goal is I'm just trying to satisfy what somebody else wants. The organization or the boss or the husband or the wife has put some kind of expectation on me, not always clear, not always defined. And my job is to run around and try to figure out how to keep them happy, how to meet their expectation. At the very best, I'll satisfy them. I still feel a bit demeaned and disrespected a little bit because they're in charge, not me. I'm not really participating. This is very transactional. I'm just trying to do what I'm supposed to do. That's how I feel. And they are either satisfied, I've met requirements, I've met minimums, I've crossed the line, or I've disappointed. And now there's going to be consequences, and we've got to start the discipline process. This is the expectation world. The agreement world is sitting collaboratively, peer to peer, and choosing to solve a problem and figure out how, as a team, we can get this done, working together. I have expectation based on what I want. You have expectation based on what you want. Now, here, feel the shift. Feel the shift right now, if you're with me. We create agreement based on what we both want. We put it all on the table. And out of this big display of things on the table, when we get real and we trust and we get honest, what we really want, then out of that, those wants and those desires, we can agree to create something that will cause me to get what I want and cause you to get what you want. Sometimes I may give up a little bit of what I want so that we can have a true agreement. Sometimes you may want to compromise a bit, but it's not always compromise. It's usually more of a synergistic coming to a better place that fulfills all of the wants and the needs. And that's a creative process versus a dictatorial process. Now, I've given you theory today. You're saying, how does this work out in the real world? We'll talk about that in a minute. But I want you to really look at this. I'm going to read through them quickly again. The distinction between expectations and agreements. Agreement is harmony. Expectation is based more on hope and uncertainty. Agreement is objective and collaborative. Expectations are subjective and assumed, or they're dictated. Agreements build trust and create teamwork. Expectations often cause anxiety and create disappointment. And the goal of an agreement is a team outcome that is created. An expectation is trying to satisfy the desire of another person. I hope you see the difference, and it excites you as you take a moment now and think about your situation, the people you're working with, the environment you're working with, how you can use these principles to change things. This all begs a question. How do I create an agreement? How do I move from expectation to agreement? Well, I have a model of communication that I've shared on this before, and I'm going to share it again because I think it is the way to do it. And it's called the communication ladder. This came to me one day. It's a collaborative work as well. I've listened to different teachers through the years, different people in the coaching industry and the leadership industry. And I kind of brought this all together and saw a ladder one day in my mind's eye, and I put this together and it made sense to me. So I want to take you through this model. How do we create agreements? We move up the ladder. But where do you got to start on a ladder? You got to start at the bottom. And here's what's the bottom of the ladder, where we're apart, where we don't really know the other person, or we know something about them, or we have some ideas or thoughts about them. We have some stories about them. We have a made up situation. Our mind is so amazing. In the lack of information and data, what we do is we fill in the gaps and paint the picture. Now, the picture isn't always accurate, but our mind, our brain does the best it can to take pieces of information here or there and create a story, kind of put it together so we have a way of responding and functioning. That's how we operate as humans. So I have myths and stories about you, and you have myths and stories about me. And let's say I'm the manager or the supervisor. I have my beliefs and my thoughts and my hopes and my expectations of you as an employee. So I want you to see on this model that expectations are at the lower part of the ladder. They are something that are subjective. I have an expectation of you. You're having expectations coming into this job or this role, or maybe you've worked here for 25 years and you have all kinds of expectations because you've been a good employee in your mind. And we all have our stories and we have our myths. They're things that are made up, and our expectations, and that's our reality. In that reality, there's a lot of drama typically. There's a lot of misunderstanding, or there's some. We're certainly not working together because we haven't really come together. We're working as independents or dependent people in our own heads. So, rapport. Rapport is that place humanly where I connect with you. I care about you. I calm down and I get with you. I get out of my independence and I start to come together with you. As a leader, you really need to match and mirror the other person. You need to become a little more like them and think like them and talk in a tone like them. And you want them to feel comfortable. People feel comfortable around people that are like them. So you're not being fake. What you're doing is you're serving. You're serving by adjusting your communication and adjusting your pace and adjusting your intensity to make that person feel a little more welcomed, a little more comfortable, a little more together. It's a rapport. And some people, admittedly, it's more difficult to build a rapport with than others. Some people are not very trusting. They're very cold, they're very distant. Some people are a little more introverted. They don't open up as quickly. It's not wrong, it's just a difference in people. If I'm dealing with a person that doesn't open up, I may give them a little more space. I might give them a little more silence to think. I'm not going to push them so hard. If I'm dealing with a fast pace achiever, I better pick up my pace. So it's that kind of thing. If I'm going to create an agreement with you, I need to get into your world. And the way I get into your world is become a little bit more like you. I can reinvent my way of being and the way I'm coming across so that I can make the environment conducive to conversation. And the biggest tool that I bring once we have that rapport is my ears and not my mouth. Quick to listen, slow to offer advice and speak. Here's where I teach people as a coach to be great coaches. Great coaches have great questions. A good open-ended question will get someone to think, and it peels back the layers and it starts to give them a chance to open up. And in the words of Stephen Covey in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, I want to seek first to understand before I try to be understood. So I have this rapport with somebody and I start to ask questions and I start to understand what I want to understand about them. Well, I want to know who they are, but I also want to know what their expectations are. See, expectations aren't bad, they're just deficient. And I want to know what the story is and their belief about where they're working and their job and what things are like. And I'm going to ask questions and become curious, open-ended questions. Who, what, where, when, why questions that open up the conversation. And I'm going to listen and validate what I'm hearing in the sense that they know I'm understanding them. And once we've had a conversation and I really understand where they are, I'm going to tell them, here's what I hear you saying, a little bit of active listening. Here's what I think you're saying. And they're, if they know that I understand them, they're going to start to trust me because they know I know what their world is. They're getting to know what my world is. Then I'm going to share my thoughts and my expectations and some of the stories I've had. And we're going to have a good laugh about some of the things that we were totally off on. And then other things that are validated that we're right. But we're going to come to this beautiful mutual understanding. And folks, that takes WORK and patience, work and patience. This is leadership. This is leading with your ears and with your presence. And it takes time to slow down. And I know you're in an active, busy environment. When do I have time to have these conversations? Well, you have to make the time, or I would just say, create the space. If you truly want agreement on a team, to take the time to understand so that we can move from expectation to agreement. When I expect, there's some disrespect. There's some assumption and belief about other people. When we understand each other, then we're set free. When we agree, we're set free. Now, in this understanding, what are we agreeing on? What can we agree on? What goals do we have? What do we want to achieve? This is Leadership 101. I'm painting a picture of where we want to go and what we want to get done. But I'm presenting that to my partner or the person I'm serving as a leader to say, I want you to achieve this. We need to achieve this. What do I need to do to serve you so we can get this done? A true leader is there to support and serve their team so their team can perform. And I need to understand them. And they need to trust me so that they can tell me. And so we can create some agreements on how I'm going to support them, what I'm going to provide, what they need, what they want. And when we get agreement on what needs to happen, we are now set free from expectation. And folks, it's magical. It's beautiful. It's exciting. It's wonderful. We're agreeing together. And if we are people of integrity, in other words, what we say we do, then we get agreements, written agreements, call it a contract, call it a whatever, that we're going to say, this is our covenant. This is our manifesto. This is what we agree to right now. And this is your part, George, and this is your part, Bethany, and this is your part, Sarah. And here's our agreement. Here's our plan. And then we get commitment to that and accountability to that. And that's what leads us to results. Here's how I recommend you use this ladder, this model. If you're having some trouble getting performance out of someone, they're just not getting it. Something's not going well. Where are you on that ladder with that person in this particular project? Are you at the level of myth and stories? Do you just have a lot of expectations? What's your rapport and your influence with that person? Where might you need to listen to them and ask better questions to understand them better so that you can come to true agreement? Folks, the frustration of trying to have results and accountability without understanding and agreement is awful. It's through the roof. You are filling your world with disappointment and frustration and anxiety, as well as theirs often. The leader needs to put the brakes on. The leader needs to slow down. The leader needs to stand back. The leader needs to do an assessment and then come in and say, where are we on this ladder? How can we get together and start to climb together and work through the expectations and the myths and stories by, in a rapport, understanding each other so we can truly agree. When we truly agree, we're set free. Once you have an agreement, then it's just a couple of focused steps to get to commitment and accountability. When you don't have agreement and expectations, it's very hard to get true commitment and accountability because we frankly don't know what we're committing to. And here's the kickback I get. And some of you may be thinking this, Dave, I don't get it. If somebody has a job description and the job description tells them what time they start work and what they have to do and their list of duties, and they hire on and they read that job description and they say, yeah, I can do that. Don't we have an agreement? Why are we doing all this? Well, folks, you know why. Because people will nod their head and agree about anything to get a job. And then when it doesn't work out, they're frustrated, you're frustrated, and you're saying, here we go again. Let's break the madness. Let's start over. Let's erase the whiteboard and let's try a different, slower approach on the front end so that on the back end, things move really quickly and beautifully. Slow down and get to know the person and understand them and understand what they really want. And if people really trust you and believe you really care about them, they'll open up and tell you what they really want. And then you can share what you really want and what's really needed. And out of that, we can create agreement. I hope you see the distinction and the beauty of agreements. But you have to be better leader. You have to be a better coach. You have to be a better listener. May I say it? You have to be a better person, a patient person, a kind person, a collaborative person, a humble person, a person willing to listen. I'm not the best listener. I'll admit it. I'm a fast-paced person. I like to get things done quickly. When people are a little slower to get on board and a little slower to absorb and a little slower to improve, it pushes my patience. I have to be self-aware of that. I have to say, wow, this is going to teach me how to be more patient. I've got a great performer here. I've got a great potential person. I just need to slow down and work with them. Now, this leaves one big question to answer this morning. If you get that, I hope that was good for you. How do I manage a broken agreement? People say it's all well and good, Dave. I get it. I even understand that agreements are probably a lot better than expectations. I need to work on getting some people there. So they're there, they're agreeing, birds are singing, sun is shining, and then the agreement gets broken. I mean, they don't keep their agreement. They say they're going to do it, but they don't do it. I think they were clear. I'm pretty sure they were clear. How do I manage that? What do I do now? People are not keeping their agreements. Well, you fire them, right? Maybe, but not right away. Let me give you some practical suggestions out of 22 years of doing this kind of work with folks. A lot of counseling, a lot of coaching. First, this is for you, the leader. Stay calm and objective. No stories allowed. What do I mean by that? When the emotion's high and the drama is high, the communication is low. Your clarity gets fogged up. You fog up your glasses when you start to put out a lot of hot air, either in your head or in your mouth. When you start getting dramatic and ventilating and all that junk, you are not going to be objective. When you're not objective, it's not in your favor. Emotions running the game right now are not wise. The amygdala, the little, lizard brain is taking over, and the chemicals are running wild and you can feel the stress and all that stuff. That needs to stop immediately because you're upset. Somebody didn't keep their word. Somebody didn't do what they're supposed to do. Now I've got a mess to clean up. Now I've been by I'm such a victim. I'm below the line. What do I mean by that? I'm blaming, I'm making excuses, I'm frustrated. I need to get somewhere and take a few deep breaths and center and get my objective smart Dave. I've got stupid Dave and smart Dave. I got to get stupid Dave over in the corner and get smart Dave back in charge and get rid of all the stories and get real objective and become Joe Friday. He's the old guy on Dragnet, just the facts man. I need to get the facts. I need to review the agreement because you did agreement the way we talked about. It was objective and written. I need to pull that out. I need to review it. I need to look at the wording. I need to clarify and document the facts as I know them. Be very careful about gossip at this point. Second and third hand information is not clear. It is not correct completely. So I need to know what I really know to be true. I need to know what I think is true or suspect to be true. I need to get that all organized and clear. I'm getting ready to manage a broken agreement with somebody. I need to calm down. I need to get objective. I need to get rid of my stories. I need to review the facts and the agreement that I thought was in place, and then allow my curiosity to rise. I don't know, get rid of the I know. Give the benefit of the doubt in your mind and your emotions in your heart towards the person. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt right now. And I'm not going to go out, take a poll, and listen to all the gossip about them. Don't go gossip. Don't go get everybody's opinion and idea what you should do. Folks, that is not helpful. I am not a ventilation fan. Oh, Dave, I just need somebody to talk to. Well, it's probably good to have somebody you can ventilate to that you can trust, but you know how two people keep a secret is if one is dead. So what I'm saying is grow up, don't gossip, don't have to ventilate, just take some breaths, calm down, get curious, give the benefit of the doubt, be kind, and go set an appointment. Schedule a conversation. Get that ladder out. Mark on that ladder where you feel like you are. Take that ladder picture with you to that meeting and tell them, where do you feel like we are on this ladder? And then practice something I call kind confrontation. Kind confrontation is an art. It is clear enough that it gets the point across, and it's kind enough that it doesn't unnecessarily harm the other person or hurt them. We're not trying to create pain, but discomfort is a part of the process. So comfort is not the goal. In fact, comfort is not our friend. There needs to be some dissatisfaction going on here if we're going to get a broken agreement taken care of. So you're calm, you've reviewed the facts, you're curious, you're not gossiping, you scheduled a conversation, you've looked at the ladder, and now you're going to confront this person. I want to climb that ladder with them again. I want to move back down to understanding, maybe even back down to rapport. And I want to listen again. And I want to present very gently, but very directly and very clearly. You know, lack of clarity is unkind. The clearer you are, the better. Even if it stings a little and it causes a little tension, it's better to be clear. If you sugar it up so much, sugarcoat it so much, you can't taste what's there. You ever had a snack that's so sugary you can't even taste the snack? All you can taste is the sugar. That's just unhealthy. And it's not really, you're not getting the benefit. What am I saying here? In our conversations, we need to quit sugaring stuff up, all this people pleasing and this politics. That is not it. It's clear, direct, kind confrontation of the problem, not attacking the person, but attacking the problem, looking at the facts objectively and asking good questions, kind of tossing the situation into their court to say, it seems we have a broken agreement here. By Friday, you were going to do this and this and this. You had agreed to it. I felt like we were clear. We're sitting here. The work is not done. What happened? And then it's listening. And then it's resetting, refocusing, and recreating agreement and a commitment. Now, next month, I believe we're going to talk about commitment and what true commitment looks like. I think it's worthy of a full session here. But a lot of people have intention, but they don't have commitment. A great leader, a great coach will sense that in the conversation and challenge it. It seems like to me you really want to do this, that you are hopeful and you're going to try, but I don't hear commitment in your voice. I don't feel like I can fully count on this. That's the accountability. A good coach, a good leader will question and be a little suspicious. Now, I don't want to challenge the person's integrity at this point. I just want to get curious and say, you know, I know if you're like me, sometimes I intend to get things done, but I'm not really committed. Can I absolutely count on you and just completely forget about this and know that it's going to be finished? And then it's silence. See, People think they have commitment and agreement. I don't think they do. They have a kind of a mushy type of understanding, and people nod their heads, and they have some people pleasing, and they do compliant things to get along, but there's no true buy-in. There's no true commitment. Folks, great leaders, effective leaders and managers learn how to create these commitments and these buy-ins. And I'm suggesting to you that this is a learned skill, and you have to get rid of some older habits and adopt some new habits. So I want you to take a minute. Hopefully you're someplace where you can get out some paper and a pen, and you can write down a couple of things. What have you learned from our conversation today? And we've had a conversation that's been pretty one-sided for sure, but what have you learned from today? And what action will you take is even the more important question. What are you going to do differently based on what you've learned? I'm going to go back and review. I'm going to take you back through this. I just want to zing through it really quickly to help you think about what you've learned. We talked about the distinction, harmony versus hope, objective, collaboration versus subjective and assumption and dictation. We talked about building trust and teamwork versus causing anxiety and often being disappointed. We talked about agreement achieves an outcome for the team where expectations are individual and they're satisfying one person typically. We talked about I have expectations, you have them, and we want an agree where we both get what we want. We're not just out for ourselves. We talked about the ladder, moving from myths and stories through expectations and building a rapport so we can understand, agree, commit, be accountable, and get the result. And we talked about managing this broken agreement, about staying calm and objective and not gossiping and not having stories, but reviewing the facts again and being curious, giving the benefit of the doubt, getting rid of this gossip, honoring the absent. That's what I call it. Scheduling a conversation, going back through the ladder, practicing a clear confrontation, and then resetting, refocusing, validating the agreement and the commitment. So, have you come up with it? Out of all that, what have you learned and what action will you take? Here's what I want to offer you today. If you want these few slides that we've shown, slide of the ladder, some of the points that we've made, you've seen them. I'll be glad to email hard copies to you, PDFs. Second, I have 3 articles in front of me. The first one is having expectations of employees is a big problem. The second is when I expect, I disrespect, and when we agree, we're set free. And the third article is expectations are problematic. So 3 great articles to support this and to help you think about it some more. And then third, if you're on this call and you'd like to talk about 30 minutes with me via Zoom, you want to set up a time to do that, I would like to do that for free because that's my passion. That's my heart, is to help as many people as I can. And a lot of folks I help pay me money. A lot of folks I help don't. That's not the issue here. The issue here is I think Dave could help me sort something out. And he says he's willing. And I'm willing because I enjoy doing that. That's my blessing to give in that way. So help me do what I love to do, which is help other people. I have a passion to help other people. And if you'd like some help, just send me an email and tell me, Dave, I'd like a 30-minute conversation. And I think in 30 minutes, we could probably get some clarity around some things. We'll climb that ladder together, build a little bit of rapport, and I want to understand you. And then through the understanding, we can probably create some insight into your situation. So there's my email, davebeam@mentordavebeam.com. Drop me a line, ask for any or all of the offers, and I'll be glad to do that. I'm going to give you back 15 minutes today. I think we cover what we need and we give out what we need, and then we don't just waste people's time with a lot of fill. So that's where we are. Hope you enjoyed this morning, and we will talk to you soon, hopefully, and see you next month. Thank you. Bye-bye.